Welcome to Ciao Bella, hosted by me, Erica Firpo, a travel journalist based in Rome. Each episode of Ciao Bella, I sit down with Italy's creators, contemporary artists and artisans, designers, culinary experts, heritage brands, and innovative aesthetes, and more who are defining and redefining 21st century Italy. Pull up a chair and join in. Hey, welcome back to Ciao Bella. This is Erica, and today I am in Brescia, which is in Italy's Lombardy region in the north. So we're talking light years away from Rome. And today I am with Edoardo Monti. Edoardo, I think I'm in love with, and I'm going to let you all be in love with him too. Edoardo is a collector and the founder of an incredible contemporary art residency in Brescia. Hello.
Hey, Erica, how are you?
I am wonderful, and how are you today?
Great. Welcome to Brescia. Welcome to Palazzo Monti.
So I've been waiting for over a year. No, I've been waiting for a year because I know that you just came back to Brescia.
That's right.
To come and visit you. But you know what? Let's jump right in. Let's tell everybody what Palazzo Monti is.
Well, Palazzo Monti is sort of different from what it was 2.5 years ago when we launched it. Back in the day, we're talking about March 2017, I was living and working in New York. And what we launched was an artist residency that took over all of the floors of the family palazzo that we have here in the city center of Brescia. What Palazzo Monti is today has developed into also a private collection that's open to the public, accessible all the time for free, and also an exhibition space, a non-profit exhibition space, I should say, that is not necessarily linked to the art produced in the residency.
So let's backtrack. So this opened 2.5 years ago, but I know that you've been a collector since you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
And this is when I'm going to tell everybody that Edoardo he's been a collector for, I guess we could say, as of tomorrow, half of your life.
That's right. I'm turning 28 tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So you started collecting at the age of 14 when you were in Bergamo.
Yes. And
had you any idea that it would lead to having an artist in residency program?
Absolutely not. I did not have the crazy idea to set up anything like that until I moved to New York. I think that was really an important step in my life. I wouldn't say my career, because my career has been in communication for the fashion world. But I always had this passion for the arts, and which I could only manage to carry on through the passion of collecting. And when you collect and you live in New York, you get to know artists, you get to become friends with artists, and I just put two and two together. And two for me were a place in Italy, a beautiful place, let's say. The palazzo is 800 years old, and it's fully decorated with the frescoes. And I added that onto another key element, which is personal relationships with artists that I made in New York. And the result is, how can I support these friends? How can I support other artists, not necessarily only from New York, offering them an incredible space to live, work, and exhibit. It took a little over a year in New York with a really good group of friends that helped me with the graphics, with the photos, with the website, with the concept, with the verbiage that we wanted to use. And all of this comes, of course, also thanks to my experience in communication. And then we launched. We launched in March 2017.
So tell me about that. So you launched initially as an artist in residency. So let's explain to everybody what that means. The artists aren't just coming whenever they want and living here for however much they want. It's obviously they're submitting to be part of this program, to part of this residency. How long do they stay here? Give me a little background on that.
We both invite artists to take part in the residency. The invitation is sent out by a board of directors. We are based, myself, in Italy. We have directors in London, New York, Paris, and Seoul. During the board meetings, not only we discuss about artists that we want to invite, but also we make a selection of the artists of which we receive applications. These are approximately 100 per month. That's 3 a day. And we go through portfolios, we go through their career, their CVs, their resumes, we go through their websites, and we also try to get as much as information as possible, and that's the main source of the artists that come to Brescia. We know very well in advance the amount of weeks that they will spend in Brescia, because there's so many artists traveling internationally that we and them also require months in advance to know when exactly they will be able to come and stay. And I would say that approximately the residencies last between 4 to 6 weeks, even though we had projects that lasted for over 3 months.
Now, I know that I think a lot of people are used to seeing art in a museum. I mean, I think that's how people are used to seeing art in a museum or art in a gallery. So there is an invisible barrier in the sense that it's not everybody gets the opportunity to really know artists. But in this case, you really get to know these artists. You're living with them. They're here when people come, because just to give, Edoardo just explained to me that there are 6 living spaces as well as 6 working spaces. So the artists are living and working in Palazzo Monti. But that means as a viewer, you get to see these artists in action. I'd love for you just to talk to me a little bit about what it's like to have these artists on site with you, or to be on site with the artists, and what it means to the viewer.
Of course, I think that is the added value to the project, and it adds value to contemporary art. Why do I love art? Contemporary art is because you not only relate yourself with a piece of work, but you also talk and engage with the human that made it. If you're lucky enough to meet them, because they may be still alive, but located somewhere else in the world. The added value to contemporary art with Palazzo Monti is the fact that visitors and residents can get to know each other and can get to know artists in residence, because we're always open. We live here, we work here, and although we prefer a little advice or notice, we also love just walk-in guests. And there's nothing better than explaining a piece of work in the studio where it was made and by the person that made it. Before I mentioned also that it's great for the artists themselves, because they travel here long distances and they get to meet and live and discuss and talk and get to know artists that come from different parts of the world and work with different mediums. At any given dinner, we may have a photographer from Japan that works with black and white analogic photography, talking and discussing about how it works in Brazil with a wood sculpture. There's that element, which is amazing, and it also helps emerging artists just out of school to openly discuss about hot and sometimes embarrassing topics that they can't find online. I'm talking about how to price yourself, how to relate yourself, how to relate with galleries and curators and with other artists. Just like having, very nice and intense mentorship talks almost throughout the stay, which doesn't have to happen often.
No, it doesn't happen at all. And that's something I think it's not part of necessarily the artist education. There's been so much emphasis on the production, making things, that the other part, which is like almost like the stuff that people don't want to talk about, the administration, and those need to be talked about, or artists can be taken advantage of. They don't know how to value themselves, or they don't know how, or they're not fitting, they don't know how to work within a system that's very well defined for everybody who knows the system.
Absolutely, and that's also something that I've found myself doing over and over, and it's super rewarding, being the person that not only during the residency but also very often after the residency has ended, I'm the person that artists come to asking for advice. I don't have any commercial interest in the relationships that we have. We're not a gallery, we don't sell works, we don't charge artists, we just do this because we love to support artists that we believe in. And when you start such a good relationship with such honest intentions, then, or at least most of the times, we have an amazing relationship that carries on after the residency. And I'm able, at this stage, with 14 years of collecting, meaning I archive for myself, I store, I protect, I install, but also living for almost a full year in the residency, because, side note, I moved back to Italy last year to fully dedicate to this project. I'm, handling on a daily basis things such as installation. How do you archive a work? How do you protect it from time? How do you transport? How do you make a list of who the works are going to after you sell them, certificates of insurance, of authenticity, all these elements that are key to an artist practice but are not taught at school. Taxation, import, export, all of these elements, which are super important.
And these are the kind of things that I think a lot of people just want to close their eyes and cover their ears, and not have to deal with. But at the end of the day, at some point, it will involve them. Tell me a little bit, because I know you were. So you're bringing these artists in. What happens after? What's normally after they're here 4 to 6 weeks? Most of these artists go back home, or are they going on to other places? Tell me a little bit more about the aftermath.
Well, we are not able at the moment to provide funding for travel. So in a way, we're not in control of that aspect, and most of the times that it's not an information that's shared with us. But I do know that for people that travel long distances, it's a great opportunity to stay in Italy for a longer time, either before or after. We have long conversations with them all the time, so they do ask for production support before the residency happens, and artists share details that make us put us in a position of support ahead of their stay. We are able to. We actually are working with the rest of the team on creating a network of residencies, which are not necessarily all in Italy. We're thinking of locations in LA, New York, Japan, Italy, and London, to basically offer an entire year of residencies that you can take on.
Wow, so it would be like a Palazzo Monti revolving?
It would be basically like an entire year of residencies where you would do 2 months in LA, you would do 2 months in Brescia, 2 months in New York, London, and then Japan. And you would know at the beginning of the year where you would go to each of the other locations. That's something that we still haven't announced. We haven't finalized the details of, but that would be very effective, I believe, for artists who would be able to just take an entire month, well, not off their practice, but they would know that they would have a spot confirmed in other prestigious locations to work on and travel for an entire year. What's positive about Brescia, travel-wise, you mentioned before, where do artists go? Well, we are in North Italy, and there's such a high concentration of incredible historical, modern, and contemporary art locations, museums. Most of the times, they're open to the public and free to access. So there's an incredible opportunity for artists that travel here to further research and to just make the most of their trip to Italy.
And it also, I think you were telling me this last night when we met up, it's also, Brescia in particular is in a great position because you're 35 minutes from Milan. It's an easy train ride. So it's kind of the ideal artist residency in the sense that you're not far from a major, incredible city for design and for art. But at the same time, it's really quiet. It's very peaceful here. But this is not a city that's removed from contemporary life. Like it's a beautiful city. It has a lot of history here, but it's also a living and breathing city.
It is, and it's such an amazing location. And that's something that I'm discovering day by day, working and assisting the artists with production. It's an amazing city where there's such incredible artisans, and production is so easy, of such high quality, and very often very competitive prices, which is very important if you're a young emerging artist to be able to, try out new productions without breaking your bank.
Now you guys may be hearing some noise in the background because I totally interrupted Edoardo in the midst of setting up for tomorrow. So if you want to tell everybody a little bit about what's going on tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow
Aside from that, it's your birthday.
It also is my birthday, which happens to be on a Saturday. And, in Brescia, we tend to do openings on Saturdays because we make it easier for friends and family of the Palazzo to travel to Brescia for the weekend. Whereas usually openings are held on Thursdays. But we are an unusual space, so we do unusual openings. Tomorrow we will launch and open the exhibition called Ossessione, Obsession in English, which is a big group show of contemporary Italian artists, which is something that we've not done before. where we are bringing 9 artists that have some sort of connection to an obsession, whether they're hoarders, repeaters, washer, cleaners, pure obsessions. You know, well, I say we, but I use that sort of that element, that connecting line to go and find and scout artworks within the artists that I already knew, because these are all friends of mine, to put up a show that defines but also elevates what obsessions are for these artists. The show will be held across 3 rooms, 3 of the exhibition rooms, which are also decorated with frescoes. So there's a very nice visual play between hyper-contemporary art. A lot of these works were made for the show. A lot of them are still wet and drying. And the ceilings, which are over 300 years old.
Tell me a little bit about the programming, because how long will this show last? And overall, what's the kind of programming for people who are interested in coming to Brescia, so they can kind of pinpoint when they're going to come?
We have another show coming up on December 14, and that will be a show that brings 4 women artists in collaboration with Katie Hessel of the Great Women Artists. Katie's a dear friend of mine, and she's an incredible curator based in London, who realized a few years ago that there were not many women artists represented in museums, in galleries, on the market, or in books, really anywhere. It was a tiny, tiny percentage. So she made this mission for herself to go out there and talk about incredible modern, contemporary, and ancient women artists, to make sure that we all knew that women are also very important for this creative world. I've known Katie for many years, but I've not had a chance until last year to offer Katie a physical space to bring this message forward. Katie's blog is only online so far. It's really hard for curators nowadays in general.
And her blog is called Great Women Artists.
The Great Women Artists.
The Great Women Artists.
In general, it's very hard for curators to find spaces where they can manifest and create a space, a physical space, where they can bring the artists that they like and support the artists that they work with. So last year, we called Katie, who brought 3 women artists. The show was incredibly successful, and this year 4 are coming back. They are all based in London, even if they're coming from a lot of other countries all over the world. So that will be a show opening on the 14th of December, with works that will be made all here in Palazzo Monti over 6 weeks of artist residency. We have other shows scheduled for the 15th of February, the 14th of March, the 11th of April, the 2nd of May, and the 27th of June. So they're monthly events that are always open to the public and very different one from the other.
Perfect. That's good for me to know, because I told you the minute I came here, I was like, I'm coming back to Brescia. I love this city. Now, I wanted to ask you, if you can let me know 3 things that I must see when I'm in Brescia, aside from Palazzo Monti, of course.
Well, yeah, Palazzo Monti is number 1, because we always have a bed available, so and a spot at the dinner table. I would say that the newly reopened and restored Pinacoteca Tosio Martinengo is incredible, with really beautiful pieces in the collection, and I believe a great architectural sort of like refurbishment. The ancient ruins of Brixia, the name for Rome, for the name for Brescia at the Roman times, are incredible. And the nearby Santo Cristo Church, which is called the small Sistine Chapel of Brescia.
Oh, the one that you pointed out on the hill. Yes.
Exactly, yeah. That's really, really nice.
Now, one of the things that I particularly love about you, I love that you are a voracious art lover. Like you want to eat it all up, and I love watching your Instagram, because you travel all over the world for art, and it's not even that you're in the artist studio, you're holding the paintbrushes. It's really, to me, it's great to see that passion, because it's raw, utter passion for art. With that in mind, I wanted to ask you in Italy and this is not maybe a fair question, but what are the 3 things in Italy, outside of Brescia, that one should see? Could be just for contemporary art or art in general, that you would say, okay, these are the things, Erica, that, make me like,
Well, I'll mention the Villa Panza collection, which is next to Varese, incredible. And there's also a similar approach to how the Conte Panza started one of the most incredible collections in the world of contemporary, or what it was contemporary, now it's modern American art. I would say that Castello di Rivoli in Turin as well is fascinating. Not only the space, but the collection of modern and contemporary art. And I would say the Colosseum in Rome, because it's such a vision every time that you walk past it, and it's so contemporary in its own way.
well, those are 3 great things. I've been to 2 of them. Obviously Rome.
The Colosseum.
Now I have to go back to Torino. Last thing, because I know you are going to Torino. Tell me why you're going to Torino.
I'm going for 2 reasons. So the first, which is very exciting, is that I'm giving a talk on November 2nd at Artissima, which is the most, I would say, prestigious contemporary art fair in Italy. And the second reason is because on the same day of the talk, a few hours after, I'm heading out to the outskirts of Torino, next to the wine region of Langhe, to present a show that I've co-curated, bringing 3 of the artists that spent some time at Palazzo Monti in a group show. So that's also something that's really exciting, because what Palazzo Monti was for me, which was this goal to achieve, has been achieved a few months ago when everything was ready to go on and to continue in the way that it had been prepared for almost 3 years. And now it's basically becoming something, I would say it's like the very last step of a very long studio visit, because I get to know the artists in person, I get to live with them. The works from an image online, when we receive the applications from a PDF, they become the people that make them. And as I'm giving many, many more opportunities to support the works of artists that I believe in, such as giving the opportunity to curate shows or to support other collectors to acquire their new works, is an amazing opportunity. And when you live for weeks and weeks at a time with artists that you love and believe in, then you already know how to best support them.
Oh, that is wonderful. I'm really, really, really looking forward to your show. I'm really looking forward actually to your future, because I think it's what you're doing for artists, and this residency program is unique and a lot of fun. Will you, as I'm going to say goodbye, but I just want you to let everybody know where we can find you.
palazzomonti.org.
.org, okay.
But I would say invite you all to just follow us on Instagram. We are Palazzo Monti, because that's the channel that we mostly keep updated, and where you'll be able to see the portraits that we shoot in this beautiful staircase of the artists in residence, and also install shots, work in progress shots, everything to give you an idea of who's here and what we look like as a space.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ciao Bella. If you'd like to know more about today's guest, please visit ciaobella.co and click on the podcast link, or go directly to ciaobella.co/podcast. Want more Italy? You can find all my episodes on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher. When you have time, subscribe to iTunes and rate the podcast. What are you waiting for? And if you want to be part of the podcast, email me or DM me your Italy questions. To learn more about me and my work, go to my website, ericafirpo.com, and follow my Italy adventures on Instagram at ericafirpo. Ciao, Bella! And a very big thank you and hug to Massimiliano Yonta and Disc to Disc Studios, the producers of Ciao Bella, who continue to make me sound and feel great.